Hello. Today is Monday, July 6, 2026. Here is your daily signal. According to Fortune, Russians are now experiencing widespread fuel shortages and rationing as President Vladimir Putin presses on with the war against Ukraine even as domestic supply chains buckle under pressure. Since 2022, Russia has relied heavily on a wartime economic model often described as military Keynesianism, channeling state spending into defense at the expense of other sectors. Ukraine has struck more than 50 Russian oil refinery sites since the full-scale invasion began, directly impacting key companies like Rosneft and Gazprom, and causing shortages that are particularly acute in cities like those in the Urals and Siberia. Fortune reports that as of July 3, over 50 Ukrainian attacks on Russian refineries have led to fuel rationing, and latest analysis signals that Russia's economy is sputtering and heading toward what the Center for Strategic and International Studies calls an economic, political, and military abyss. These pressures threaten to trigger further consumer dissatisfaction and unrest, with risks including rising inflation, diminished industrial output, and the loss of workforce to continued conflict. Observers caution that if unaddressed, these trends could eventually force dramatic political or economic shifts and potentially even shake Russia's leadership structure. Next, turning to U.S. monetary policy and presidential politics. Fortune highlights that Donald Trump has recently disclosed a staggering $2.2 billion in income, a financial and political milestone that is reshaping how the Federal Reserve's independence is understood. Trump's growing financial and political influence is prompting scrutiny of the central bank's capacity to withstand presidential pressures, a point underscored by Syracuse University's Robert Koppel and his big player theory. Published financial disclosures on July 3 detail Trump's fortune, and Fortune additionally reports that he has called the Fed board hostile, expressed open support for Fed Chairman Kevin Warsh, and vowed to continue pursuing a legal case against Governor Lisa Cook. These actions have heightened political pressure on the Fed, raising concerns that standard monetary policy could be destabilized and potentially eroding public trust in its impartiality. Over the medium term, financial analysts warn that such interventions by powerful figures could drive greater policy volatility and set lasting precedents for how much politics invades central bank operations. Now, onto European technology markets, where quantum technology is in the spotlight. TechCrunch reports that IQM, a Finnish full-stack quantum company, went public on the Nasdaq on July 2 at a valuation of about $1.9 billion, making it Europe's first public quantum player. This milestone IPO comes as quantum startups attract substantial investment across Europe, but face persistent questions about the commercial readiness of their technology. IQM's leadership openly acknowledged ongoing uncertainty around the pace and scale of quantum breakthroughs at their Nasdaq debut, contributing to market volatility and cautious sentiment around tech IPOs. As investors grapple with the risk that quantum firms may not deliver near-term results, analysts suggest that stricter due diligence and lower valuations could become the norm for European startups. If uncertainty persists, IPO activity in the sector could slow even further, and deep tech investment strategies across the continent may shift until there's more concrete evidence of market-ready quantum technologies. Now, onto the markets. International markets were mostly positive, with Germany up about 2.7% led by EWG, while France and the UK also saw gains, and Spain inched up over 1% as EWP continued to outperform. The Netherlands and Chile drifted lower. Commodities were mixed, with gold climbing more than 2% on the day and silver advancing nearly 2.7% as GLD and SLV outpaced other metals, while US oil USO edged up modestly. In the favorites, Adobe surged over 4% while Microsoft gained about 1.6%, but AMD and Nvidia both slipped and ARM was notably weaker with a drop of over 6%. Among sectors, healthcare Roman 45 rose over 2.6%, finance XLF added 1.5%, but semiconductors stocks fell more than 5.5% and clean energy QCLN moved down nearly 5%. The SP 500 SPY was little changed, ticking down slightly amid this mixed landscape. That's it for today. You can find more news and details on our website. Goodbye.